Hello, my name is Alison Kaufman. I am a public health advisor working in the Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today to talk a little bit about tick-borne disease prevention. Lyme disease was the first tick-borne disease that was recognized in Lyme, Connecticut, which is not far from here in Connecticut, in the late 1970s. And in the years that followed, it was discovered that it was actually caused by a bacteria that is carried by the black-legged tick, otherwise known as the deer tick. This tick that feeds on deer and mice and other small rodents just spread out in where it was living in our area, and with this spreading out and this multiplication, it spread the diseases that it carries. At this point, we have Lyme disease, and we also have several other diseases. Two of the most common are called anaplasmosis and babesiosis. They're all caused by the same tick, so we have very high rates of tick-borne disease in the Hudson Valley, some of the highest in the country. And every year in Dutchess County, we see well over 500 cases of Lyme disease, as well as between 50 to 100 cases of anaplasmosis and babesiosis. We find that it's really important to reach out to the Latino population because the Latinos are highly represented in a lot of outdoor professions. So people that are working in the farms and that are working in landscaping may be at increased risk for these diseases that are transmitted by ticks. It's particularly important for us to reach out and make sure that people who are at increased risk have as much information as possible to know how to prevent disease. Moreover, there has been research from the CDC that's shown that in the Hispanic population, disease tends to be diagnosed at a later stage in the fall. So we really want to make sure that everybody knows how to recognize the signs of disease early as well. We did a survey in our own Dutchess County here, and we found that our Hispanic population was very concerned about tick-borne disease, but that there was a disparity between the level of concern and how much people said that they knew about tick-borne disease. And so we really want to meet that need that was expressed by our community and be sure that we are providing as much information as possible. In order to not get bitten by a tick, the things that you need to know are when ticks are active and where they're active. And unfortunately, the short answers to those questions is that in the Hudson Valley, you can get bitten by a tick at any time during the year and almost anywhere. We know that most cases of tick-borne disease happen in the summer. And the reason why they happen in the summer is that's because that is when the tiny juvenile stage of ticks that we call nymphs are most active. And these nymphs are out between about the middle of May till the middle of August, and they're so little that they're really hard for people to find. And if people don't find the tick and pull it off quickly, then it's more likely to cause disease. So we can help protect ourselves if we know when the risk is higher based on time of year and based on where you are going. Ticks like to live close to the ground in places where they can kind of hide and stay moist. The ticks are not going to be on pavement. The ticks are not going to be on bare dirt. The ticks are unlikely to be in closely cropped lawns. But they are likely to be in places like loose leaves on the ground or sticks or any kind of brush that might happen adjacent to a woods or on the ground in the woods. Ticks don't go more than 3 feet off the ground. They don't fall out of trees and land on your head. What they usually do is they sit on a little branch or a little piece of grass, and they can sense when something warm or something giving off carbon dioxide comes by, and they just reach out and they latch on to your clothing or to your skin. So they will start low on your body and they will crawl up. The first way to prevent getting a tick-borne disease is to never get bitten by the tick in the first place. The first thing that you can control is what you're wearing. So you can wear clothes that act as a barrier between the ticks in the environment and your skin. Cover up it completely. You wear long pants, that you tuck these pants into your socks, that you wear covered shoes, not sandals, that you tuck your shirt into your pants, and you wear long sleeves. sometimes in the middle of July, when I told you that's when the highest risk is, that might not be the most comfortable outfit to wear. So there are still things that you can do, even if you're wearing summer clothes. And the biggest thing that you can do is use a product called permethrin. And permethrin is a chemical that actually is made in a laboratory but is derived from chrysanthemum flowers. It's very, very safe, and it is a clothing treatment that will make the clothing repellent to ticks and mosquitoes. You can buy permethrin spray under the brand name Sawyer through Amazon or Walmart or any outdoor store. You simply treat the clothing in a well-ventilated area. You let it dry overnight and it's ready to go the next day. And the nice thing about it is that once the clothing is treated, it lasts through 6 to 7 washings. You can also buy clothing that has been impregnated with the permethrin in the factory, and that comes under the label Insect Shield. And you can even take your own clothes and send them to this company, and they will put the permethrin in the clothes and send them back to you. And if you use the factory impregnated clothes, that lasts through the entire lifetime of the clothing, through 70 washings. If you are someone that works outside or likes to go hunting or has a particular, or if you have a uniform or a particular outfit that you typically wear when you're doing those activities, it's a good idea to have that outfit be the clothing that is treated with permethrin, and then that's the clothing that you wear consistently when you're doing these activities, when you're at higher risk. You can also use insect repellent that we are all pretty familiar with. Any EPA registered insect repellent will have a registration number on it, and many of them will have a little graphic that shows what it repels. It will usually have a picture of a tick and a picture of a mosquito, and below it it'll say how many hours it works for. It's very important when you're using insect repellents to read the label directions, to not apply them more often than the label says. And if you have children using insect repellent, to make sure that it's an adult that's actually applying the repellent, that it's not on their hands, because you don't want to have insect repellent on your hands and then consume food and be ingesting it, and that it's not on their faces. These are the things that you can do before you go outside to try to protect yourself. The next step is to continue to protect yourself once you've come inside. And so what you want to do is make sure that you remove any clothing that might have any ticks crawling on it in an area away from your living space. What you don't want to do is come in and you're hot and you're tired, and so you lay down on your bed in the same clothes, and you might have ticks that are still crawling on your clothes, and now you have a tick in your bed. Or you put those clothes in your laundry hamper, and now you have a tick in the laundry hamper. So you want to remove clothing that might have ticks on it and put it directly into the wash. And remember that ticks do like to be in warm, moist places, so the washing itself will not kill the ticks, but a hot dryer will kill the ticks. So if you put clothes directly into the dryer, just 10 minutes on hot will kill the ticks. If they're washed and they're damp when they go into the dryer, then it'll take a longer period of time. So then the next step is to make sure that you are checking your body for any ticks that have become attached. And that's most easily done if you take a shower soon after coming in. It facilitates the water rinsing off any ticks that might not be attached already, and it just allows you to get the best view of all your parts to be able to find any ticks that may be attached. And because it is hard to see certain parts of your body, it's important to use a handheld mirror or a full-length mirror or another person to help you to find those ticks. The reason why we want to check for ticks is that the sooner that tick is removed, the less likely it is to transmit disease. Even if a tick is infected with a disease, for most of the infections that we see commonly, it takes 24 to 36 hours minimum for that tick to be attached to you before it can transmit that infection. And then the last step in protecting yourself is to be aware of what the symptoms of disease are, to recognize those early, and to go and see a doctor. Fever, headache, aching muscles and aching joints, and sometimes swelling in the lymph nodes as well. But if disease is allowed to progress, we can get more severe symptoms like swelling of the joints. There can be an irregular heartbeat. There can be neurologic symptoms such as numbness or tingling. and dizziness, as well as problems with memory and with cognition. In addition, rash is very common with Lyme disease. About 70 to 80% of cases of Lyme disease start with a very characteristic rash. The rash usually happens at the site of the tick bite, and it tends to be a circle or an oval that expands over time. And if you're not sure if this is a rash that you would associate with Lyme disease, what you can do is you can circle that oval with a magic marker, and then if over the next 12 to 24 hours you see this rash spreading out bigger, then that is very characteristic of what we call the EM rash that goes along with Lyme disease. You will commonly also hear this called a bullseye rash, because sometimes this rash will have a pale area and you'll end up with like stripes, almost like a bullseye, but it doesn't always have to look like that. In the summer months, in our Hudson Valley, where we know that there's a lot of tick-borne disease, it's important to recognize symptoms that might be tick-borne disease, even if you don't know that you've been bitten by a tick. We think that people are getting infections from the tiny nymph ticks in the summer because they're so tiny that they don't even find them and pull them out. If you have a rash that is circle or oval, usually a reddish color, but that color can vary based on skin tone, and it's spreading out over time, even if you don't know that you had a tick bite, then that is something that you want to alert a doctor to, because that rash and that rash alone in our area is diagnostic for Lyme disease. There isn't even any lab work that's needed in that situation. If you have symptoms of a flu-like illness in the summer months in the Hudson Valley, then it's important to see a doctor very soon after these symptoms start, and to make sure, if the doctor doesn't say to you that we should consider a tick-borne disease, to say, hey doctor, I work outside, I think I have exposure to ticks, maybe this is something that we should consider. And it's also important for the doctor to evaluate you to decide if this is in fact a tick-borne illness or some other different type of illness, and if it is a tick-borne illness, to do different tests to see which of several tick-borne diseases you actually have, because different diseases have different treatment. In addition to what I've told you about today, there are many resources in our community to learn more about tick-borne disease and how to prevent them. One great resource is the Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health website. It's important to note that all the county website pages have a function where they can be translated into Spanish as well as many other languages, and we have many resources about different tick-borne diseases as well as their prevention online. In addition to our site, the New York State Department of Health also has a great webpage with numerous videos. We link to several of their videos that show the correct technique for removing a tick with a pair of fine-tipped tweezers, as well as the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, our federal agency, also has a lot of information on ticks and tick-borne disease, and a lot of fact sheets that are available in several different languages as well. In addition, the Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health has produced a fact sheet on tick-borne disease that is available in English and Spanish, and I've shared that with ABC Latino, and they can make that available to you as well.